Hi everyone, I've been meaning to do a video on my personal first aid kit for a while now, and our friend Mike over on his GavCoo channel is running a competition for first aid kits after he managed to injure himself, so I figured now's the time as good as any to show off mine. It's a custom kit put together from a bunch of prefab kits and then a bunch of extra pieces. I don't really like the prefab kits that much. I always find myself adding things to them. If you really want to go out and buy a prefab kit, then a good brand is the Adventure Medical kits. They're pretty decent, but stay away from like the little Walmart first aid kits. They're no use to man or beast, to be honest. Okay, so the pouch itself is my Maxpedition FR1. Great little rugged pouch. I used to use one of these little prefab first aid things, but it's seen many years of use and it's starting to fall apart now, so I replaced it with my Maxpedition, which I'm expecting to last for quite a few years now. Let's open it up and have a look at the contents. Okay, so first up, polysporin, antiseptic cream. Very, very important to carry stuff like that. Afterbite, great for those Canadian summers, those black flies and mosquitoes like flying horses. Advil, ibuprofen. You really can't beat ibuprofen in my opinion. Not only is it a fantastic painkiller, but it's a really, really good anti-inflammatory. So, you know, if you've got any sprains or anything like that, anything where an injury is going to swell, that will help a lot. In fact, when I was in the army, if you happen to, you know, get a sprain or a knock or something like that, you go and see the MO, and 90% of the time he'd pack you out the door with a bottle of the big red Brufen pills. And if you happen to get those, then every man in your section is your friend, because they're just fantastic. You know, if you're doing a long tab or something like that, they would take a couple of those with some cold tea, and they'd be ideal for getting you through to the end of it. Absolutely brilliant stuff. Also carry a tincture of iodine, which not only is a fantastic topical antiseptic, but you can use it in a pinch to purify your water as well. You'll notice I've got everything in Ziploc bags, and that's because I do a lot of canoeing and things like that, and these things aren't really that naturally waterproof, so if your gear's soaking wet, it's no good to you. So in this bag I have some extra drugs. I've got Reactin, which is a really good antihistamine. If you have any allergies or allergic reactions to something, very important to carry something like that in your first aid kit. You have some Imodium and some extra strength Imodium. So if you ever find yourself in the old Montezuma's Revenge or whatever out in the woods, Imodium is a great thing to have on you. I've got some BandAid, liquid bandage. In fact, this is nearly empty. I use this stuff all the time, and in fact it expires in about a month as well, so I need to replace this. And last in here I've got some Visine for, you know, if you get any crap in your eyes or something like that. It's really good for irrigating that stuff out. Now I mentioned that the liquid bandage has expired. That's also why I carry the little cardboard instructions with my drugs. Not only does it have the dosage on them, but I also write the expiry date, because, you know, once your drugs are expired, you should replace them. You don't want to compromise their usefulness by using expired medications. Next up I have a bunch of different size and shaped BandAids. We all know how frequently we get through these things when we're out in the woods, especially if we're playing with our new toys, knives or whatever. These are knuckle bandages, regular shaped BandAids, and I also have a crap load of these butterfly strips. Excuse me. And the butterfly strips are absolutely fantastic. You use these in replace of suturing, and honestly anybody who is going to try and suture themselves or suture somebody else out of the woods is a moron, and you shouldn't let them anywhere near you unless they're a freaking trained surgeon or, you know, a very advanced wilderness first responder, because it's asking for more trouble than it's worth. Even if you get a tiny little bit of dirt underneath that and you suture it up, you're going to get an abscess, and it's just going to be horrible. You know, patch yourself up with some butterflies and get yourself to a hospital if you've got a deep cut. Don't try and self-suture, and don't let somebody with just enough knowledge to be dangerous to stitch you up, because honestly it's just going to be far more trouble than it's worth in the long term. Next in here I have irrigation syringe. Very, very important. If ever you get any cuts or something like that, irrigate for at least 15 minutes with sterile, clean water. The good thing about these is you can actually put the water under pressure and it will really spray out any crap or dirt or bugs or anything you've got in there that's going to cause a problem. Irrigation is 70% of 80% of first aid. Also have some latex gloves, because, you know, if you happen to be treating somebody else, you never know. Better safe than sorry. And here I've got some specialised bandages. Some burn dressing. This is nearly expired as well, so I need to replace that. Some more liquid bandage with applicators. These are really good for getting into those awkward sort of nooks and crannies. I generally tend to use the little squeeze tube, but these have their place as well. Come handy. And a bunch of blister treatment pads. They're basically the same sort of thing as moleskin, but they have a little bit of medication in them as well. They work really well for blisters. And I have a little first aid guide which came with an old prefab kit, and it's actually got a little needle in it as well, which I'd only use that for puncturing blisters or for scraping out splinters or something like that. I've also got some Blistex lip balm, which if you've ever been out hiking or camping in the Canadian winter, you know that the wind and just general dehydration can really mess with your lips. You always come back with cracked, sore lips, and this stuff's great. You put it on, within a couple of hours your lips feel a lot better. Swear by this stuff, and also tastes quite minty as well. Okay, and this one I've got absorption pad and a couple of gauze pads, and these are actually looking pretty old as well. I think I'm going to be replacing these soon. Just a little bit extra that I had in an old Adventure Medical kit, just threw it in there just because I happen to have it. It's got some alcohol pads, another couple of BandAids and a bit of moleskin, I think. Extraneous really, not needed, but you know, I had it handy so I threw it in there. And then finally we have some benzalkonium chloride antiseptic towel. That's basically alcohol swabs. Some PI swabs as well. Alcohol swabs are just as good. triangular bandage, one of the most important things you can have in a first aid kit, especially once you've been trained how to use it, because you can use it for making slings and support and things like that. I have 3 different kinds of tape. Also one of the most important things you can in a first aid kit for immobilisation and strapping fingers and things like that. Incredibly useful. Now there's 2 things missing here which I would normally carry in my kit, and that is some tweezers for removing ticks and things like that, and some scissors. And both of those I took out of my kit to sterilise them after my last trip, and they seem to have been misplaced, so I'm going to have to buy some replacements for those. So that's my first aid kit. It's designed to be used by me for myself, personal use, or maybe if I'm out hiking with the family. It just covers the minimal basic scenarios. You'll notice that there's quite a few things that I don't carry. I don't carry a suture kit. I don't carry a tourniquet. I don't carry quick clot. You know, I don't carry prescription drugs, and there's a reason for that, and that's because in the wrong hands, you know, in the untrained hands, those things can be very, very dangerous. You know, you can do far more harm than good. And that brings me on to the subject of training. You know, my own first aid training is very out of date. I need to take a refresher course. But if you don't know how to use the things in your kit, there's no point in carrying them. You could end up doing more harm than good. And the type of training you take is also equally important. You know, my own first aid training I did was, you know, basic army military first aid training, was battlefield training. That's no good for me when I'm out in the woods. I'm not going to have to patch up somebody with a bullet hole or worry about nerve agents. If you're taking a St John's ambulance course, that may not be as effective. Yeah, that's still pretty good, but it may not be as effective. It's not geared towards outdoor and wilderness first aid. You know, if somebody's been mauled by a bear, you don't necessarily want to put them in the recovery position. Okay, you can take first aid courses which are aimed at wilderness first responders, and those are pretty much the best ones you want to do. I'm going to try and take one of those. The wilderness first responder training is geared towards the kind of injuries you're likely to encounter when you're out in the woods. I hope you found this useful. As always, any questions, queries or problems, feel free to drop me a line. On a personal note to our friend Mike, if you have to baton with a bloody kukri, at least move your fingers out of the way. Cheers.